Hi everyone, Steven here. In this episode, we're going to talk about how we can look at drop packets on our edge nodes. This is by request, so stick around and we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye. Thanks for sticking around. So I've had a few questions in the communities, or sorry, not the communities, actually communities and the comments below on how can I view drop packets on my edge nodes. And there's a few ways to do that. Now, I'll go through and show you a few. You could do this through the command line. You can do this within the GUI. There are other tools that you could use such as vRealize Network Insight or ARIA Network Insight or vRealize Operations or ARIA Operations. That's what they're called now. vRealize now called ARIA or ARIA, whatever, however you pronounce it. I won't be covering any of those. We're just going to use the native tools that come with NSX. We'll look at the GUI with NSX and vSphere. We'll take a look at then the command line, okay? So, by the way, if this is stuff that you kind of like, hey, subscribe to the channel. It really does me a big favor if you do that. It's free to do it. Just click on the subscribe button. Again, without subscribers, there's no content developers, right? Also, if you find this entertaining or the slightest bit helpful, hit that thumbs up, okay? Thanks again. So why don't we jump right into it? Okay, so first of all, let me kind of explain my environment. Let me go over to my NSX and my NSX manager right now. So I'm going to log into my NSX manager. I got a really simple environment set up, right? I only got a single edge node, and that's fine. Now, a couple of things. Let me go into my system here. Let me go to Fabric. Let me go to Hosts. And you'll actually see I've got two clusters over here. I got a Site A cluster 01. That's my compute cluster. You can see it's been set up for NSX's networking and security. Then I have a dedicated cluster, a vSphere dedicated cluster just for my edges. You know, it's called Edge Cluster, right? I only got one host in there. Again, I'm just being cheap, right? Okay. If I go into nodes here, you'll see I only have a single edge node, all right? Let's look at my networking. If I go to networking, if I look at my topology, it's very similar to the stuff I've been doing for the past bunch of videos. I've got my three segments here, web, app, and database segment. I have an uplink segment, which again is is up here for me to get to the outside world. I'm doing two tier. I got a tier 1 and a tier 0 gateway. My tier 0 gateway has one uplink connecting to the outside world, right? So I'm keeping it simple. It's not equal cost multipathing or anything like that. It's a single edge. Let's go into my gateway here. Let's go into this. You'll see it's on Edge Cluster 01. It's non-preemptive. It's active standby. And I only have, if I edit this, sorry, where are you? Go to interfaces, external interfaces. You'll see this interface is just on Edge 1. I only got a single edge, okay? Just keeping it simple, okay? So you'll see my edge here is Site A NSX Edge 01. So we'll be taking a look at that. So now, a lot of this depends on how you have the interfaces on the Edge VM set up. So let's take a quick look at interfaces here. Let's go back into vSphere. There's my Edge cluster. There's my ESXi host, and there's the Edge VM. Now, when I go to the Edge VM, you'll actually see that there are for network, let me actually edit the settings. I'd rather look at it like that. Edit settings. You'll see there's 4 network cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 5 network cards. I'm thinking the first one is management. Okay. So when you're configuring your edge, this one is called ETH0. E is in Edward, T is in Tom, H is in hotel, ETH0. Okay. And that's going to connect to your management network. In my case here, it's called VM network. Not that imaginative. I should have probably renamed it to something called management. Anyways, I was in a hurry. Then you have 4 other network cards. Now, that wasn't always the case. In older versions of NSX, you had 3. Okay? So these 4 now, you get to choose with how you want to configure them. Remember, the edge is the boundary between our physical world and our virtual world, our overlay world. So it's going to have an interface in a VLAN network, and it's going to have an interface in an overlay environment. Now, you can do stuff like NIC teaming, and that's kind of considered one of the best practice, and I don't like using that term. But anyways, so you have to look at your configuration and see, how am I set up? I've got mine set up pretty simple. My first card is management. That's always management, okay? Then the second card, I got it going to a port group called overlay, right? So it's this port group overlay, and that's going to network cards that are going to go into my overlay network. Then I've got a port group. Then I have another network card for my VLAN. That's connected to a port group called uplink. So the uplink port group goes to my physical world, and the overlay goes to my virtual, if you can imagine like that. I'm not using the other two cards. I'm not doing any teaming or whatever, but I could be. So this is the important part you need to understand. So I know on mine, let me cancel this. If I go back into NSX here, and this is half the battle, folks. If you don't know this, that you're wasting your time, right? You need to figure this out first. If I go into, let's go to my system here. Let's go into nodes. Now there's my edge node. If I select it, if I just go edit, actually I don't even have to do that. This is just one way I'm used to doing it. Come on. You'll see on my edge node, I got my first virtual switch called prod overlay NSX virtual distributed switch, and it's connected to my overlay transport zone. So that's my first one. Then my second one is the prod VLAN. It's on the VLAN transport zone. So this first one's going to be FP ETH0. FP standing for fast path. So FP, and then this next one will be FP ETH1. That's basically what it'll be. Now let me click on the edge and see if I can pull out some more information there. See the transport zones. Yeah, okay, so let's go right into monitor on this thing, okay? So you can see, from the GUI perspective at NSX, is probably the quickest and the easiest way of dropping packets. You see CPU stuff here, some disk stuff, memory, whatever, right? You'll see some other stuff over here as well, some buffers and whatnot. Doesn't look like we've tripped off any alarms or whatnot. Now, if I scroll down, you'll see over here my transport node status, FP ETH0 is up. Okay, FP ETH1 is up, ETH0 is up, ETH again being my management network. Okay, that's the default. So you see my two interfaces over here, and they're both up. Now, if I go to network interfaces, if I click on that, you'll see ETH0, and you see again there's no DPU over here. But let's look at FP ETH0 and FP ETH1. See, both of those are up. FP ETH2 and 3 are down. I'm not using those. But you could have easily been teaming them together if you wanted to, right? I'm not in my environment. So this is where you have to understand your environment. It's very important. So let's look at FP ETH0. My FP ETH0 is my overlay, and my FP ETH1 is my uplink going to the real world. So now way over here on the far right hand side, you'll see stats. When I click on that, it shows me total bytes, total packets, and packets dropped. So a quick way for you to look at and see, oh, am I dropping packets? Let's look at FP ETH0. That's my overlay. I'm not dropping any packets. This is not real time. Is this near real time? I wouldn't even say that, but it gives you a quick way of looking to see if there's a big problem there. Now, those other solutions I talked about, Verni, vRealize Network Insight, all those, there's a lot of tools in there to help you kind of narrow this stuff down. Maybe I'll do a video on it down the road, but I just don't have the time right now. Let's look at my management one here. I think I dropped a couple packets on my management one. Interesting, right? And I was doing some playing around earlier on, so that's probably why it dropped some packets, right? So a quick, dirty way of looking at it from the GUI, all right? Now, this is good if this is a bare metal edge, right? Suppose if it's a VM, which in my case, it is a VM. I could also take one step further. Let's go into vSphere. So from a GUI perspective in vSphere, if I go into my virtual machines and templates view or host and clusters view, either one, if I select the VM, if I go to monitor, now you might be familiar with some of these. You can look at your performance. You got the overview. Okay, that's nice and pretty little graphs. This is not real time. It says real time, but it's not. It's like 20 seconds out. But hey, it's pretty darn good, right? I'll click on advanced. Now under advanced here, notice that right now I'm looking at my CPU usage. Maybe I want to look at network. And then it shows me, receive rates and all that. Let's go into chart options here, okay? I'm going to go into chart options. There's a bunch of things that are already selected for me. Maybe I don't want to look at all this receive rates and transmit rates, but I want to look at, come on, there we go, receive packets dropped, transmit packet dropped. So you see that over here, transmit, receive, and now down here at the bottom, see target objects. Actually, let me just select this and say okay. So what do we see now? We see 4002, I see NSX Edge 01, 4001, 4000, 4002, 4001, 4000. I see all, I see a couple of things here. And if I scroll down and I see NSX Edge, I see some duplicate stuffs. So what's going on here? Well, first of all, if I look at Edge 01, there's receive packets dropped. And down here, there's transmit packets dropped. Same thing with 4001. 4001 shows me received. 4001 shows me transmit. What's this 4001, 4002, 4003? Let's go back into our chart options. This one here, SA NSX Edge 01, that's kind of the overall of all the interfaces. So maybe I don't want to do that because I know one of them is management. Okay. 4000 would be the first virtual network card. Sorry, let me back. Yeah, 4000 is your first network card, ETH0. This would be ETH1. This would be ETH2. Is that right? Yeah, so this would be your first NIC, second NIC, and third NIC. Okay? Remember, I don't have, there's 5 NICs on the VM. I'm only using 3 out of the 5. That's why I see those, right? So this, again, this comes down to understanding which one it is. So the first one's my management. I don't want to see that. The second one is my overlay. Okay, FastPath ETH0, and this third one is FastPath ETH1 in my configuration. So again, going back to understanding what you got. So I'll say, okay, I just want to see those, and you'll see I'm not dropping any packets on any of those whatsoever, okay? So again, a nice, quick and dirty way, like, hey, do we have a problem here? Is it telling me why we're dropping packets? No, it's not, because there could be a whole bunch of different reasons why, right? But, it gives me kind of a clue on, if there's an issue with us dropping packets, okay? Actually, let me go in there and let's go to our chart options. Let's pick the first one. There we go. So I'm not dropping any right now, and this is showing me real time, right? And again, my view, I can customize this. So again, some of you might be familiar with this performance monitoring type view. So that's pretty neat. So we're able to do this because this is a VM. If this was a physical edge box, so much for this. This won't work. Now, how about from a command line? Because a lot of people like to see it at the command line, maybe a little faster, that sort of thing. And I'm kind of like that too, right? I want to see what's going on kind of almost in real time. So I'm on host 4 here. Let's minimize this. Because it's a VM, I'm going to putty into that host 4. So ESXi04. I'm going to log in as root. Now let's just fix this up just a little bit here so it looks a little prettier. Change settings, appearance, font, we'll make it 14. Okay. And then colors, maybe we'll, nope. Sorry, I want to pick default background. Maybe we'll pick, I don't know, something like that. Let's see if that doesn't look too gross. Apply. Ooh, that looks horrible. Let me try that one again, folks. Let's go back into putty here. Change settings. Colors. Let's go back to the default background. Let me just kill. Oops. Sorry about that, just wasting so much time here. Let's redo that. Sorry. Let's go back into, that's my host 04 root. We won't mess with the colors. I'll just change the font so it's a little bit bigger. Change settings, appearance, change the font size. We'll go to 12. That's good enough. I'll say apply. So there we go. We've got that. All right. So I'm on host 4. Now, one of the really easy tools to use from a performance perspective, if you've ever done any performance stuff in vSphere, is ESX Top. All right, Top is like a performance tool in Linux. ESX Top is their version. So I hit enter. and I come up with this screen right here, right? So basically, this is showing me my CPU load right now. Now, if I want to look at network stats, I'm not going to talk about this screen, but if I want to look at network stats, basically if I hit N for network, it's showing me all my network stats. Now, notice over here, I only got that one VM running on there, and you see there's 3 interfaces. There's one interface there, the second interface, and the third interface. Again, knowing those virtual NICs and where they're plugged into and what they're being used for is important. I know that one's here is my management, ETH0. I know this one here is my overlay, FP ETH0, and this one's my uplink VLAN, okay? You see they're all going through VMNIC0. That's the physical NIC on this host. Again, it's a virtual machine, but who cares? It's the physical NIC on this host. Why is it all going through there? It's just the way I've got it configured, right? So actually, let me just show you on my host. So my edge, let's go back to the edge here, summary. And again, I'm kind of showing you this already, edit settings. You'll see my 3 virtual NICs. One's going to VM network, that's management. One's going to port group overlay, and the other one's going to this port group called uplink. I'm going to cancel this. Let me go into configure. Let's go into, I'm on the wrong box here. Host 4, go into configure, virtual switches. There's my uplink, there's my management. I should actually have moved it over to that one, called it management. Oops, my mistake. And it's on the same VLAN, but overlay here, right? So let me look at the configuration of my uplink. So if I go edit settings, you'll see my teaming. I only got 2 NICs. VMNIC0 is my active, VMNIC1 is my standby. So I'm just doing an active standby on those. That's why it's going through VMNIC0. I only got 2 NICs inside the host. But if I had different ones, it would show me. Maybe my uplink's going through VMNICs 2 and 3, and my overlay is going through VMNICs 4 and 5 or something. But I was quick and lazy, and I just kind of slapped it together. But I just wanted to show you kind of how it's configured. I'm going to have to change this management one around. But anyways, let's go back into here. So you'll see over here, again, the stats, and you see the packets transmitted, megabytes transmitted, average packets transmitted, packets received per second, megabytes received, and average packet, and then the percent drop packets. And let me go over to here. Let me open it. And drop packets transmitted percent, drops packet received. So we see this over here in these 2 columns. So again, these are 0, which is great. Nothing's going on right now. But again, understanding what interface, what virtual NICs is being used for what on that edge will give you the indication here. Now, by default, these last 2 columns are not displayed. So how do I show these columns? You hit F, I call F for fields. And at that point over here, it gives you definitions. And then you just hit the letter to toggle something. Like maybe I want to say, I want to enable physical NIC properties. I'll type in C, and you'll see an asterisk go beside it. I want to turn off maybe, team NIC, physical NIC E. I'll turn that off maybe, right? So you can turn these things on and off if you want to, and just hit enter, right? And then you'll actually see the information come up over here. So again, those last 2 are not enabled by default. Let's go back to F for fields, and it's down here. M and N, those are turned off by default. I turned them on, and then now. So quick and dirty way, real time kind of, hey, are we dropping packets? Gives me kind of a quick overview. Oh yeah, we're dropping packets on this interface. What's that one being used for, right? It's giving you a clue, right? So that's great, and it's because it's a VM, we can view that stuff. There's other ways also in NSX, in vSphere, you can look at it from a command line. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure something with the NSX CLI, network IP, something. I'm sure it'll be something there. But anyhow, let's jump into the edge right now, okay? So I'm going to go to the edge. Let's close this down. Are you sure? Yes. Now let me putty into my edge. And I'll log in as admin. One bang. Oh, wrong password. Okay, let's fix this up so it's a little prettier to look at. Change settings. appearance. I'm going to go to 14 font, say OK. Let's try our colors again. Hopefully I don't butcher it. Let's say default background. Default background, modify. We got to get something darker, right? So let's do this. How about that? Yeah, what the hell? Let's add it, pick it, say OK, and apply. Yeah, that's not so bad now. There we go, a little bit of variety for spice of life there. Let's open this up. Okay, so I could use the NSX CLI command. Now, a lot of these you may not be familiar with, but I could type in something like get, and I go, oh, I don't know what, I just hit enter. And it barfs out a whole page full of stuff that you can look for. So let's type it in get, and I'll type enter, I'll hit tab, and it came up with it. Oh, okay. If I hit space and tab again, it comes back and shows me more information. So it's kind of auto-completing. You right off the bat, you do see there's some Docker stuff here. I'm not a Docker guy whatsoever, right? But you do see the FPETH0, FPETH1, FPETH2, and FPETH3. Again, those are fast path. You see the ETH0 is management. Okay, the bond 0, I'm not doing it. This is not a physical edge, because on a physical edge, you could bond your network interfaces together if you want. Okay, this is virtual. So I know these are my interfaces I'm using. So FPETH0 is my overlay. FPETH1 is my VLAN going to the real world. So maybe I want to look at that, let's say. So I'll say get FP-ETH1. I'll hit space. I'll hit tab. I can just hit enter if I want to, or I could do output modifiers. So I'll hit enter, and it actually shows me some information on this, right? So you actually see the MTU size. Yep. And then we see it's VMX-Net 3. We see the receive packets, receive errors. I don't have any. And you'll see transmit errors down here as well. So this kind of gives you, again, another quick clue. Shows me some offload capabilities I'm capable of as well. All right. Let's look at, what do I want to look at here? Let's try this now. Get physical, again, there's a bunch of commands. Get physical port, and if I hit enter, it comes back and it just spits out a whole bunch of stuff here. I just wanted to make sure that let me move this over here a bit. There we go. Okay, just want to make sure my video capture window is not in the way here. So we see over here when I type in that command get physical port, it's all I typed in. It shows me a whole bunch more information on here, right? You'll see, oh, it shows me FPETH0 is the name, shows me the PCI bus, you see if it's active or not, the queue lengths, all these wonderful things. Again, if we scroll through here, is there anything else that's giving me? Yeah, there's FPETH1 as well. If I scroll down, there's FPETH2. So it's giving me a little bit of information here, but is it showing me? It's not showing me any drop packets here, right? So that's just this get physical port command. If I hit tab here, it's asking me to now put in a specific port. Maybe I want to look at FPETH1 again, and I'll hit space, tab. Then it comes up and it gives me a couple of other parameters. So if you hit space, tab, it comes up with the optional parameters after that. So you don't need to memorize this stuff, to be honest with you. I don't. There are certain stuff I have memorized off the top of my head. Most of the times I go, okay, I'm just going to go in there, type get interface, and then hit tab, and it'll kind of give me a clue. So if I just hit enter right now, it shows me, again, basically the same stuff that we looked at before, but the other stuff gave me all that information for all the different interfaces, and you'll see again more information down here on it. Again, I see queue sizes, but I'm not really seeing any drop packets here. So let's go into stats, because that's another command, and it gives me just quick and dirty stats. I do see transmit drops and errors. I do see receive drops and errors as well. Okay, I don't have any here, but again, a quick, dirty way. Now that's the stats. If I want to get, I guess it's called extended stats. I'll go X stats. Boom, it gives me more information on this. It shows me receive errors, good bytes, good packets, memory buff allocations, missed errors, dropped errors, frame check sequences, all this kind of stuff. Again, it's pulling up a little bit more information to give me maybe another little bit more clues here. The last thing I want to show you, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're still watching, which I appreciate it, hey, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Let's type in get firewall. Now this one can be a bit fun, okay? I'm gonna hit tab, and it shows me all these UUIDs here. What the heck is all that, right? Then you say interfaces. Let's say, oops, get firewall interfaces. Let's hit enter, and it shows me some of the interfaces here on my edge. Now, notice this says backplane here. This is backplane SR port. Now, if you don't know what an SR and DR is, you need to watch my routing video, okay? Because if you don't know any of that stuff, then you need to understand that if you want to. And even packet captures. I did stuff on packet capturing on the edges. You need to kind of understand some of that stuff as well, right? But right over here, I see this is an uplink going to the real world, okay? And notice the UUID over here. Okay, I'm going to copy that. This is one way for me to determine this. So I'm going to copy that. Now let's type in this. Get firewall. Let me paste that. Hit tab. And then it comes up. And I can type in various other parameters here as well. And there's one here called interface stats. All right. So let's type in interface stats. Hit enter. And it comes back and it's showing me a little bit of information on drop by IPsec policy, drop by load balancer. So it's giving me some more information on that. Bad timestamp, TCP straight flags. I'm not getting really anything here. I got firewall deletions and insertions, firewall lookups, right? I'm not doing any dropping or packets or anything like that. But again, another command to maybe help you kind of narrow down things a little bit. I think that's it. That's just a quick and dirty way of just showing this. I've had a few requests and a few questions on this. I figured I'd put together a quick video. If there's something more you need to see, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Any suggestions, by the way, folks, hey, leave them down below. If there's something that you do that works really well that it didn't show, hey, share it with the rest of the folks here. Maybe I can even do a video on that if you don't mind. But that's it. Thanks again for watching. If this is the kind of content you're looking for, please subscribe to the channel. I've got a bunch of other stuff coming up. It just takes time to do. It's just me, right? But that's it. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.